working on the environmental testing for Halliburton, and just a brief description of our project is we'll schedule some tests on some tasks and attach them to a work request order so that they could either be approved or denied, and then that test could run on specific resources that Halliburton has. And so, as I guess like the biggest part of this project is going to be the submission of forms and approving like the objects that are created by those forms. So for this sprint, we actually did a couple of things that in order to bring more functionality towards this to the system. We now have the ability to so that the specific components for admins are separate from a regular user. And if you look on the left, you're going to have the admin functionality, which is only available for the admins. So you can see the admin panel. And the work request user, regular user, will not have access to that. So if you'd like to see, we actually have a login form. So at the moment, we're going to connect this later on to our LDAP in the next sprint. But this is going to be basically how you'll have to log in, and then from there, the system will give you the privileges of what you have to see. The biggest thing that we did was, I want to go to the create work request here, right hand side, or either one. The biggest thing we did is all the drop downs are now actually working properly. The last sprint we had a couple of them that were not updated. So if you look at the test, like the test location or charge code, it will now populate with actual values from people, drivers that you can choose from, and different charge codes. And the other thing that we have is when you actually go to the tasks, we added more functionality so that you can actually go ahead and submit a file along with it. So if you wanted to attach different documents maybe that are required for the approver to view, then this would be a good place for you to view it. You know, maybe you might have a PDF or some previous tests that you want to attach. So one of the cool things is, so if you just, I guess like if you create one, it's a lot faster now when you have the drop downs and you have actually like a date picker, times like that, instead of you having to input it with by keyboard. But when you create it, one of the cool things that we did is also adjust it so that the work request is not coupled to the task, the tasks aren't coupled to the work request. Instead, it's the other way around, so that you can actually approve and deny tasks individually, which is one of the biggest features, and we confirm this with our sponsor as well. So if you go ahead and look at it, you know, we actually refactored the view. Instead, before we used to have just work requests, and now you actually have the ability to look at a task itself. So if we click on it, you actually go ahead and see like the work request number that it originated from, all the comments, the person who created it, the location they'll be taking time at, and you also have the file that you went ahead and attached to it, which is another nice thing to have. And maybe you would like, as an admin, for example, you might want to add a little bit more information and context to this test, so you'll have that option as well. So you actually, we have the option to also add files directly from here. And we made sure that this was made in a way where the code was reusable, if, for example, later on we would like to have upload somewhere else, this will also be very easy to implement. A couple more things. Oops, at the very bottom is we also have this where these log entries that are displayed. That's something else that we included on this sprint. So now whenever you go ahead and you create a task, for example, I believe this is an old one, but this you'll have exactly when the task was created and when this task was changed to submit. And further down the road, we're going to add a little bit more events. So if you were to have something approved or denied, that would also have its own specific event that would be a little bit more detailed. And I guess,
changed the work request a little bit. Just made it more streamlined with our task view. So now each task is added, attached to the work request instead of its own separate piece. But basically, you can step back and forth between the tasks and the work request by their own unique ID that's kept in the back end.
One more thing is that next sprint, this is something we're gonna get the front end to do next sprint, but the back end actually returns different error codes. So now you'll actually have like the front end will be able to distinguish between an error with the charge code, or if there's an error with the request, the requester, or if there's an error with both of them, it'll actually display what the issue is. So our goal is to have this displayed to the user so that they know what they need to fix. Or as our sponsor mentioned to us, since we're using a REST API, you're not always going to have the UI, or the front end to interface with. So if you're sending these API requests without an interface, it'd be nice and helpful for you to also have the error message returned to you. So this is our current test coverage. This is for the back end. For the most part, we improved a little bit. There's still some spots for us to work on. For example, like the pass log hook and the create log hook. But for the most part, we have once we've been writing a hook or some sort of functionality, we've been making sure that that's been unit tested along the way. That way, we don't get any specific errors. Or if there is an error, we know that there's something wrong with we did something wrong along the way. And on the go back to the tab or just I think just scroll through there it is. Yeah.
Is this?
Yeah. And this is going to be the front end coverage. It's we plan on having it a little bit higher. Our line coverage did go up by like around 10%, I believe. But this kind of ties back to one of the difficulties that we faced is that we had a really weird issue with Jenkins where it just stopped building our front end tests. For some reason, Chrome wouldn't launch anymore, even though it was working fine on everyone else's computer. So that was a little bit weird, and it took us a couple of days to get that figured out with Venkat's help. So this is something that we're going to continuously improve upon. That's also for the next one we're going to go ahead and work on. And we actually had one more issue, which was our MongoDB server just started overloading for some reason. I believe it got spammed a lot of connection requests. So that was a very difficult thing to also pinpoint, but I think it's overall was a great learning experience. And I guess the last thing is what we have on our backlog. It's out there. For the let's scroll through there a little bit. So for the next sprint, our sponsor has communicated with us that he would like for us to have the authentication set up. That's his #1 priority. So he wants LDAP to be enforced. The reason he wants LDAP is because it allows like an enterprise just to connect their Active Directory server and immediately return all the accounts that are associated along with any groups that are attached to that. And they don't have to go ahead and create like a separate database that holds all these users' information. So that's like one of the biggest things he would like for us to implement. That goes hand in hand with access controls. And we also have the work request search that we're going to try to implement, and the notifications. The work request search is going to be a useful feature for users so that they can just type in one specific keyword and it'll return all the tasks, all the work requests that match it. And our MongoDB's already has like the groundwork laid for this, so now it's just the API that has to create this. And the notifications is going to be so that we bring a little bit more functionality and nice features to the users, so that if an admin approves your task, you immediately get a notification saying, hey, this is approved. Or as our sponsor mentioned, he said that if we're going to deny a task, that the person will get a message, but they'll also get a reason why from the admin. And for the front end, we're going to, as I said, we're going to make sure that this connects to our LDAP. We also are gonna have like a search component so that we can display all the features, all the search results. And we're also gonna have a calendar that's gonna display all the functionality, all the tasks that have been scheduled. I think that should be pretty much it.